trying to pull out confidence and security out of a well that is only full of insecurity and doubt doesn't make any sense.
Like I was failing and I wasn't enough and my emotions are so annoying. Why am I down for the third day in a row?
What could give me that confidence? What could make me finally feel secure?
It's so hard to live in this culture that tells you that you're enough and that you gotta pull some crap out of yourself to be better.
Hey guys,
I'm Sarah.
I'm Kaitlyn.
And we are your best friends. Today we're talking about why self-love / self-discipline does not work. We're gonna tell you why. We're gonna talk about it all because unfortunately, especially you who are around our age, this generation, we are suffering hardcore. Can somebody help us with our mental state? Can somebody help us have a good life? One where we don't have to just try more to try and get there. That's why we're talking about this very important topic. We want you to be freed. We want us to live a good life. The formal definition of self-love is regard for one's own well-being and happiness. Pretty simple here. When I think about self-love or self-discipline, all my mind goes to nowadays is somebody who is literally their own source. If they need peace because they're struggling, they go inward to try and make peace happen. If they need joy, they think about it and rationalize and they try to find ways to make joy a thing. It's somebody who is literally self-reliant to make a good life, to make discipline, make motivation, all coming from an inward place, which to me sounds so exhausting and personally impossible.
Personally, yeah. The root of the self-love / self-sufficiency that we're being taught by culture is not true love. What it really is self-centeredness. That sounds harsh, but let me prove it to you. If we define our center as 4 things, our center is our source of wisdom, guidance, security, and power / capability. Self-love says, I am enough, aka my capabilities come from me alone. Our wisdom and guidance says, do you, be you, do what makes you happy. So all of our decisions are made from what is this going to do for me when we look at things through a self-love perspective. And then finally, our security. Our security comes from ourself when we practice self-love. We look in the mirror and say, you are enough, you are complete. When we practice self-love, we are constantly practicing self-justifying. And so at the root of the self-love that we're being taught, it's really self-centeredness, which is poisonous to our own lives. Why is it poisonous? Because this self-centeredness eliminates our need, our desire for outside sources. Self-love culture teaches us that going to outside sources, such as God, such as good friends, such as family, makes you weak or says that you're not enough. When we talk about self-love, the truth is the root is making decisions from a very self-centered perspective, and that's not how we're meant to live.
You can fight it all you want. You can fight about what you were created by, if you were created, if you were an accident. Fight it all you want. We were not made to be self-reliant and like what Kaitlyn's saying, to be looking through the lens of it's all got to come from self. If anything other than that, we're weak. If anything other than that, it's wrong because then I'm not enough. And guess what? All over Instagram, we see the most beautiful quotes. I am enough. I am enough. It's all we are told nowadays. And it's so crazy that something that popular can be so wrong. At first it sounds like, wow, you guys are debunking something that has a good message. No, we're actually freeing you from something that can keep you captive for all of your life and can make depression, anxiety even worse than it already is. Because then you're going to feel like, why is it that I'm enough? I'm telling myself I'm enough. But when anxiety and depression hits, I'm not helping myself enough. Am I not working hard enough? Am I doing something wrong? And it makes what is already so difficult to navigate even harder because everyone's telling you you're enough, but here we are in our bedrooms all alone and I'm not enough.
And I don't feel enough.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's crushing us, it's hurting us, even as young as middle schoolers, it's hurting us.
Throughout my whole life, I struggled with confidence. You can go watch my confidence journey video on our channel, but basically this was a whole life thing of struggling with being secure in myself and being confident. In my high school years and my college years, I started seeking what could give me that confidence, what could make me finally feel secure. And a lot of the advice I got was this typical self-love advice. You are enough, you are complete, look in the mirror, tell yourself that you are enough, tell yourself you love yourself. And so I practice it hardcore. I literally practiced trying to tell myself that I love myself, trying to tell myself that I was enough, and yet still on the inside, I'm still so insecure. I still don't feel comfortable in my own skin. I still don't feel comfortable when I'm in groups of people. Whenever my insecurities would hit, it was just a sign that I wasn't loving myself enough. Once again, I'm not doing enough in my own purpose because I must not be practicing self-love good enough. And I think that this very simple experience that I had goes to show that our source of insecurity and of doubt is within the self. That's within our own minds. We get self-doubt thoughts, we get insecure thoughts, we get all of those things. So how then could the same thing that provides what I'm trying to fight be my source of security and confidence? It's a contradiction. And it was only until I found Jesus and I found my worth outside of myself, because that's what happens when you find Jesus, that I was able to be confident, because trying to pull out confidence and security out of a well that is only full of insecurity and doubt doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So that's my experience.
My experience with trying self-discipline and self-love, I was raised with a savage mother and father, but I got a lot of qualities from my mom. And so she was just a beast, came from Colombia, worked hard, now is a dentist, a surgeon, does everything, and she's a hard worker. My thing was more so with, I was trying to be my own source of strength, my own source of motivation, my own source of discipline. And there was many times in my life where I would fail. I fell into temptation with things. I couldn't control some things, so I failed. And what I would do is, I was that girl who the next morning came up with a plan to get better, restart, right? But we all know the story of the restarters. We get excited to write that new list, but then a few weeks in or even a few days in, it just crumbles once more. And so I really related with the person who tried to be perfect. I'm not a perfectionist, but every time I felt like I was failing and I wasn't enough and my emotions are so annoying, why am I down for the third day in a row? Why am I so scared about this thing? Instead of going to God, the creator of the universe, my heavenly Father, the one who knows me better than I know me, instead of going to him, which looks like going in the word, talking to him, I would just sit in my thoughts by myself and try to come up with solutions. And I would try to work harder, and I would try to be better. If I felt like I wasn't acting like a woman enough, I would try to come up with better ways to be a woman. Dress different, do your hair more, do your makeup. I tried to come up with so many ways to be what society kept putting out was like organized and complete and whole and going somewhere in life. And I think for me, a lot of those years were filled with sadness and loneliness because I was the type of person who kept to myself about it too. It was just really hard. And I can't imagine how much harder it is for middle schoolers, high schoolers, and entering college students where this narrative is shoved even more down your throat, bro. I can't imagine how exhausted our students are. No wonder they're tragically committing suicide, because it's so hard to live in this culture that tells you that you're enough and that you gotta pull some crap out of yourself to be better. The Lord made us to be dependent on him. And when I say dependent, I mean dependent. Your future, your career, the major you pick, your happiness, your joy. I got so tired of trying to be my own strength, dude. I got so tired of it, and I still get tired of it, that thank goodness in my experience in these last few months, this last year, I have ultimately given it all to God. I'm like, screw it, God, fine, you say you want me to be dependent on you? I'll be dependent on you. And I've been talking to him about all the nitty-gritty things in my life, giving him all of me. And you want to know what? He's been the source. I can't rely on anything other than God at this point, especially not myself.
Because you just said that, I kind of want to just move into the last section, which is what we learned in that experience, because what I learned is exactly to build off of what you're saying, which is like, if you're not a Christian and you're watching this, or if you don't know God and you're watching this, it's so funny, but every little thing that we debunk, such as self-love, as we debunk it, you'll watch and you'll see, crap, self-love doesn't really work. What they're saying, the logic adds up, this makes sense, I've seen it in my own life. Then it's like, what do I do now? And every little thing we debunk, it's so funny, but it always points back to the truth, which is Jesus Christ. It always points back to God, which is the solution. And it sounds like a blanket statement that Jesus is the answer, but I will tell you why Jesus is the answer, especially in this culture of self-love. If we go back to the beginning, I said our center is 4 things: our power, our security, our wisdom, and our guidance. Our power. On our own, we are not enough. We realize that once we debunk self-love, that we are not enough to make it happen. When you follow God, you are free to not be enough, because with God, you are enough. He has a plan for you. He walks with you in our weaknesses. He makes us strong. Really says that. There's a Bible verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's a very cliche t-shirt Bible verse that everyone uses. But if you pay attention to the last part, it's through Christ who strengthens me.
Through Christ, not through us.
Yeah, not I can do all things, period. Just that first thing already. Okay, God could be my source of power. Walking with God is power. Now you look at wisdom and guidance. When you look at wisdom and guidance, self-love culture, once again, says to make all the decisions in terms of how it will affect you, how it will affect your self-worth, how it will affect you, basically. When we know that even God himself is wisdom, then our source of decision-making is not just on us. It is in God's word, which is firm. So we can make decisions that feel uncomfortable or don't feel the best sometimes, like let's say being generous to a friend. Even if we know how it'll affect us, we'll lose some money from our bank account, but we know that giving is a beautiful thing. Because we have God's wisdom, which is unchanging, our guidance is unshaken when we walk with God. Finally, our security. I mentioned earlier that when you get your source of security from the self, you're drawing from the same well that has insecurity and doubt. Our roles throughout life change so much. One minute, you're the CEO of this amazing company. Next minute, you get fired. One minute, you are this amazing high school student who's super involved. Next minute, you're at college and nobody knows you and you're just a freshman. Our identity, our role is always changing. So we know that if we're gonna justify ourselves by
our labels,
we're screwed because it's always changing. So with God, our identity will never be changed. Though our roles change, one thing that is secure is that when we accept Jesus Christ, we will be saved and our identity is forever sealed as children of God. No matter what happens in life, I can hold on to that one thing as my sure identity. So that is why, practically and logistically, Jesus is the answer to this problem. And it's just so funny how when you break it down rationally, you can see it.
When it comes to having a relationship with God, it's not also just the action of giving. It's the cool thing is sometimes we don't give because we're fearful of like the future. If I give this now, but I have a budget, what about what I'm trying to save up to? I can't give money right now. I can't afford it. But even the beautiful thing with it, little example like that is when the Lord gives you peace, which trust me, you walk with him, you'll feel the difference between unsettled and peace. When he puts on your heart, give money to a friend, you'll have peace. And you'll know, wait a second, if I don't give because I'm scared of not having money, that's what we talk about is God is your source of security. He promises that he has a plan for you. His plan is good. And so you better believe if he gives you peace about giving, you can give and fear doesn't win. Fear can't win when we walk with God. Fear of the future and of finances, because that's once again living with a closed fist. Who's closing the fist? Us, because we want to protect us. We don't have to do that when we walk with God, because He's our source of security, dependency, finances, the future, the plans, and all of that.
Yep.
This is a verse that practically you might be thinking, okay, so just quickly throw me a verse that tells me what you guys are talking about, how I can practice this. And it's in Colossians 3. If you then have been raised with Christ, meaning you've now decided, guys, I never knew Jesus, but I want to kind of lay down my life. I want to surrender and try this out. If you've now been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above and not on the things that are on earth. And that verse set me free, because I realized every time I was depressed, anxious, worrying about my future, honestly scared, sometimes I feel scared lately, that verse comes to my mind. Fear, being scared, careers, major, kids, marriage, is he the one, is she the one? All those things crumble when I spend time in the Word, which then tells me, set your mind on the things above. So I'll literally throughout the day find myself thinking about the stories in the Bible, like when Paul was whipped and then was rejoicing in jail. My mind, I forced myself to think about that. Okay, this dude was literally worshiping while in jail. How is that? As I'm meditating on that, my fear, all these things are being crumbled in it of just thinking of the things of above. And I wanted to throw that out as a very practical and biblical thing that we're called to do. We're not called to focus on the things of earth. We're called to focus on the things of above. Watch as the Lord, as you focus on that, fills you with purpose, passion, peace, love. That no doesn't mean now you're perfect. The world is still a crazy place, but you are filled in a world that is not filled. Nobody can mess with you because you are not rooted in you. You're rooted on the creator of the universe.
And that's so freeing, because self-love also just makes you just like think about yourself all the time.
All the time, bro. It's exhausting.
Like, what if somebody told you you don't have to? You don't have to be thinking about how to fix your own insecurities all the time. You don't have to be thinking about whether or not you can do this all the time. You don't have to think about the stupid, petty little things that come up in life all the time. How freeing would that be?
I know.
And that's the truth.
So this whole video is basically an invitation. You are an empty cup if you're not doing it with the Lord. What's been going on in all of your life is very valid, because nobody's told you that you're not enough. So if you're thirsty for the living, eternal water, go to the Word of God. Start asking God some questions. DM us. He's so real. He loves you.
I think that wraps it up. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more real talk videos. You can check out our playlist, Real Struggles and Solution, where we talk about things just like this. And like this video, please. It helps it get seen by more people.
Yes, it does.
We need to be free.
Need to be free. We love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. Get off your phones today and enjoy the sky.
That's right.
See ya. Bye.
Oh, we